What is going on, Pats Nation? You guys already know who it is. Patriots Global here, back with another video. And in this one, I'm going to be talking about this New England Patriots final 2022 NFL roster, their 53-man roster. In my recent video, go check that out. Probably now. If you haven't checked out my cut down video, go check out the roster cuts the Patriots made and then come back to this video to find out the final roster. I broke down all the players that the Patriots had to cut, place on IR, all that good stuff in order to get down to 53 players. So check that video out. But in this one, we're going to talk about the final roster. For the most part, this is going to be your New England Patriots team competing to get to the playoffs and a potential Super Bowl for 2022. Obviously, some minor changes here and there are going to be made. And I'm also going to be talking about the Patriots practice squad, which up to this point is at its full capacity of 16 players. Of course, as we all know, that could change a little bit from who's going to be on that, but we'll talk about that when the time comes. Without further ado, though, let's roll that intro and get in with this video. All right, guys, so let's just start here with the offense. We always start with the offense, so let's continue that. Quarterbacks, no surprise here. 3 quarterbacks are going to be on your active roster. Mac Jones, Brian Hoyer, Bailey Zappi. Again, no surprise here. Even last year, this is what the Patriots did essentially. So there's really no surprise here. A lot of people thought maybe Brian Hoyer could be a surprise cut. You need Brian Hoyer here. He's your offensive coordinator, for lack of better, well, I shouldn't say offensive coordinator, but quarterbacks coach here for Mac Jones, essentially. It wouldn't make sense for the Patriots to cut him whatsoever, especially on such a contract-friendly deal for New England. Yeah, I think Brian Hoyer is actually going to be essential for the Patriots for the season, and Mac Jones. Moving on to the running backs here, the Patriots are going to roll with 4: Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, Ty Montgomery, and Pierre Strong. They did cut Kevin Harris. Unfortunately, with how Kevin Harris performed, especially this last preseason game, fumbling twice, losing one of them, not much of a surprise that he got cut. I honestly don't imagine the Patriots carrying 5 running backs anyway, so really, again, no surprise there. As for the wide receivers, the Patriots are rolling with 5, and I think this is where one of my more surprising reactions is going to come from. Devontae Parker, Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, Tyquan Thornton. Obviously, you expected all these guys to make the final roster, but I thought they'd roll with 6 wide receivers, not to mention the fact that Tyquan Thornton is going to be on injured reserve. He's not going to be playing till at the earliest October. So take Tyquan Thornton off this list right now, essentially for week 1. Right now, you have 4 wide receivers. I'm not a fan of that, especially because the Patriots are only keeping 2 tight ends here also. I'm just not a big fan. You know, we need more weapons for this team. You need depth. Devontae Parker has an injury history. Kendrick Bourne has dealt with some injuries also. Nelson Aguilar from here and there throughout his career has dealt with some injuries also. So this is just an injury-prone receiver core. You want some depth behind those guys. I'd imagine once Tyquan Thornton goes on injured reserve, which surprisingly they haven't done, and that's kind of why I waited to make this video for about 24 hours after the 53-man roster was official, just because, you know, they place guys on injured reserve, that frees up a roster spot, and now you have other guys coming on the team. And as this point, they have not done that. 2 guys that we're hearing could go on injured reserve would be Tyquan Thornton and potentially Ty Montgomery. So those are 2 storylines to watch, which would free up 2 roster spots. But at this current point, they have not done so. I would hope that if the Patriots do place, you know, Tyquan Thornton and Ty Montgomery, or even at least Tyquan Thornton, that they would elevate a wide receiver to the 53 for the time being. Could that guy be a little Jordan Humphrey, a Trey Nixon? I'm not sure. Both of which they were able, surprisingly, very surprisingly, to get back on this practice squad. Spoiler alert, which I'll cover later, like I said. But you got to think that one of those guys gets elevated, because I cannot imagine that for at least 4 weeks, at least 4 to 5 weeks while Tyquan Thornton's out, the Patriots just roll with 4 wide receivers. I just don't see a world in which they do that. Moving on to tight ends here, like I said, New England only rolling with 2. This one was also a little surprising to me. Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. The Patriots over the last several years, I can't remember a time in which they didn't do so. I think it was the years of Dwayne Allen and Rob Gronkowski was the last time they ran with two tight ends here. But with the Patriots rolling with more 12 personnel, two tight end sets, you'd think that they'd roll with at least three tight ends. This is something that we're continuing to hear even with this offseason and training camp. The Patriots still rolling with that 12 personnel offense using these two tight end sets, something we expected a lot more last year, but didn't get to see a lot of. Hunter Henry and Jonathan Smith both have dealt with injuries throughout their career, especially Hunter Henry, who even this offseason we haven't heard much of because he's had lingering issues throughout training camp. Devin Asiasi, they wanted to get back on the practice squad. He was in Gillette today, and then he finds out that the Cincinnati Bengals claimed him off of waivers. Now he's over with the Bengals. Patriots do have Matt Sokol back, but he's not a guy that you're going to want on the active game day roster. You'd want to go out and get a better tight end at that point. So to me, I'm surprised the Patriots didn't at least keep Devin Asiasi. I understand letting, his name's escaping me right now, their other third round pick, which goes to show just how much, he actually impacted this team. Dalton Keene. So I just thought that the Patriots would have at least ran with, excuse me, as my camera is just absolutely shaking right now, guys. I apologize. Looks like my phone next to it's getting a phone call. So just excuse that real quick here, while that's happening. Oh, no, we're good now. Let me get back to this. So that's an area in which I would watch. I don't think the Patriots are going to necessarily add one. This is another reason that I thought someone like Lil Jordan Humphrey would be very important to this Patriots team, and why I thought he should make this 53-man roster. He gives you depth as a wide receiver in many different positions, whether it's out wide or in the slot, but also he can line up as a tight end. And I thought that was a really important position for the Patriots, especially again, now that they roll with just two tight ends. So again, an area that confused me a little bit here. Offensive tackle, not much of a surprise here. Rolling with four: Trent Brown, Isaiah Wynn, Justin Herron, and Yanni Kajust. Again, not much of a surprise there to me. Guards, Michael Onwenu, Cole Strange, Chasen Hines. Chasen Hines really pushed the last minute to make that final roster, but I like him. I think he's performed well as of late, and I'm excited to see him. I think that he will be a rotational piece. Center, David Andrews. I'm not too surprised that James Ferentz isn't on this roster. They were able to get him back on the practice squad. I think they knew that they were going to also. Maybe that once they place a couple of players on injured reserve, maybe somebody like James Ferentz is the type of guy who comes back and, gets activated to this 53. But again, I think the Patriots, with someone like James Ferentz and some of these other offensive linemen that they like, they knew that they could get them stashed on the practice squad and elevate them for a game if need be. Moving on to the defense here. 5 edge rushers: Matthew Judon, Dietrich Wise, Josh Uche, Anthony Jennings, and Demarcus Mitchell. The Patriots have multiple UDFAs this year. Multiple UDFAs making this roster, Demarcus Mitchell being one of them. I thought Demarcus Mitchell was going to be a guy that did push to make the final 53-man roster, but ultimately I didn't think that he was going to be someone that did, just because I feel like someone like LeBrian Ray does give you more from a defensive standpoint than Demarcus Mitchell does. Demarcus really only had that one play against the Panthers that really stood out to me defensively. Other than that, I just really haven't seen much defensively from him. He's going to serve as more of a special teams guy. Maybe he'll get into the rotation defensively from here to there, but Demarcus Mitchell, mainly expect him to be a special teams player. Other than that, Anthony Jennings really made the push this offseason, and no other surprise there at edge rushers. 5 defensive tackles. This one surprised me a little bit. I was surprised the Patriots kept as many interior defensive linemen as they did, especially when you have someone like Dietrich Wise, who plays a lot within this interior of the defensive line. I love to see that Sam Roberts, that 6th-round pick from this year's draft, was able to make the roster. I think that he's going to serve as a really important rotational piece for the defense, or the interior of the defensive line, but also on special teams as a kick blocker. I could see a world in which Carl Davis didn't need to make this roster. I like Carl Davis. Maybe he's someone you could put on the practice squad, but is there really a world in which Carl Davis needs to make this roster when you already have Sam Roberts, and Daniel Ekuale was placed on the suspended list. He's suspended for, I believe, the first 4 games. So with that being said, he's going to come back. I know the Patriots really like him, and he's going to be at a point where that is now 6 interior defensive linemen. If they choose, of course, to keep him, which they will have to release one of these players in order to free up a roster spot. You're only going to play about, 2 to 3 max defensive linemen at a time, interior defensive linemen at a time. I just think that this is an area they could have shrunk down a little bit, especially because you're going to play Lawrence Guy, Devon Godchaux, and Christian Barmore 90% of the time. Moving on to linebackers here for Juwan Bentley, Raekwon McMillan, Mac Wilson, and Jelani Tavai. Some people thought Jelani Tavai was not going to make this roster. I don't know why someone thought that. Bill Belichick said himself he was going to make the roster, so I don't know why anyone thought he wasn't going to. I like this. I like this linebacker core. It's young. It's fast. I'm really excited to see it. I think that the overall run stopping defense is going to be a lot better this year because of the speed we have, especially at linebacker. And we're already starting to see that training camp, preseason games. I'm really excited with this linebacker core. So again, really no surprise there to me whatsoever. Cornerbacks, we're going to be rolling with 6. Jalen Mills as your number 1, Jonathan Jones as your outside corner, Jack Jones, Miles Bryant, Marcus Jones, and Sean Wade. This does concern me a little bit. Excuse me. As we know, the Patriots did release Terrence Mitchell. He is back. Spoiler alert. I don't know if that's on the official 53 at this point or if that's going to be on the practice squad. I believe it's on the practice squad, though. But the Patriots are going to be heavily relying on 2 rookies in Jack Jones and Marcus Jones. That scares me a little bit. I think they're going to be really good, but I think there's going to be growing pains. And I think the secondary in general is going to have a couple of growing pains. I would have liked another veteran there outside of Jalen Mills that could play the perimeter. Jonathan Jones hasn't been bad, but again, I think he's going to have growing pains too, playing on the outside just due to that size. You essentially would have liked another veteran who is a prime candidate to play the perimeter defensively, and the Patriots just don't have that. That does scare me a little bit, but Jack Jones, as a rookie right away, he's going to be thrusted into that that third cornerback spot. And I could see a world which, mid-season to the end of the season, he's being thrusted into the second overall role here if Jonathan Jones starts to struggle. As for safeties here, the Patriots have 5: Devin McCourty, Adrian Phillips, Kyle Duggar, Jabril Peppers, and Joshua Bledsoe. Guys, I absolutely love this safety group by the Patriots. I think it's one of the best, easy hands down in the NFL. Even if Devin McCourty retires next season, having a core of Adrian Phillips, Kyle Duggar, Jabril Peppers, and Joshua Bledsoe is still a really, really, really good core. Getting a little bit ahead of myself. I'm excited to see what Bledsoe has. I think mainly he's going to play special teams, but I think he showed throughout the entirety of this offseason, whether that's preseason and training camp, that he deserves a role defensively, even if it is as a rotational piece. So I'm really, really excited to see what Joshua Bledsoe can do for the Patriots here. And I'm really excited to see Jabril Peppers perform in just kind of that rover role for the Patriots, whether that's playing, free safety, whether that's playing hybrid linebacker, which I think we'll see him playing a lot. I'm really excited with the safety core by the Patriots. And then special teams here, Nick Folk, Jake Bailey, Joe Cardona, Matthew Slater, Cody Davis, and Brendan Schooler. No surprise here. So happy to see Brendan Schooler make this final roster. After Demarcus Mitchell did, there were some questions on if Brendan Schooler was, and he did. Super excited to see him. But I think because Brendan Schooler and Demarcus Mitchell made the roster, that, my friends, that is exactly why you are not seeing names escaping me right now. Justin Bethel. That's why you're not seeing Justin Bethel on this team, is because you have Brendan Schooler, you have Demarcus Mitchell, which essentially play the same roles on special teams. And the Patriots just said, are we going to go a little bit cheaper and younger, get these guys some reps? Or are we going to keep Justin Bethel? And they decided to go with Demarcus Mitchell and Brendan Schooler in this situation. So for those wondering why Bethel's not on the team, essentially that's why. Now, I do want to go on to the practice squad. I think the practice squad is what surprised me the most. The fact that the Patriots got all these players back surprised me. And it honestly would not shock me if at some point we see a couple of these players leave this practice squad because another team claims them. For those who don't know how the practice squad works, the Patriots can elevate, I believe, each of these players 2 times before they have to make them signed on the 53-man roster. But they have so much talent here that I honestly thought was going to get signed or claimed by another team and just didn't. So I could see another team throughout the season looking to potentially add one of these guys to their 53-man roster. If you do sign a player from another team's 53, you do have to sign them to your 53-man roster. So let's say the Ravens wanted Lil Jordan Humphrey. They could not sign Lil Jordan Humphrey to their practice squad. They have to sign him to their active 53-man roster. That is just NFL rules. But Patriots get back rookie Kevin Harris, J.J. Taylor, wide receiver Lil Jordan Humphrey, wide receiver Trey Nixon, tight end Matt Sokol, tight end Jalen Weidemeyer. There was a mystery number 68 there. We believe it's an offensive lineman, but we're not sure at this current time. James Ferentz is back. Bill Murray's back. Cody Rusty, LeBrian Ray, Jeremiah Farms, Cameron McGrone, Harvey Longy, Terrence Mitchell, and Brad Hawkins. I mean, this was your ideal practice squad. I think Devin Asiasi would have made this like 100% perfect. And I think then you swap him out with, a Matt Sokol or Jalen Weidemeyer. But I am so happy with how the Patriots were able to use this practice squad and all the players they were able to get back, because as we all know, the Patriots use those elevations each and every single week. So, a guy like J.J. Taylor or Lil Jordan Humphrey or Trey Nixon might not be on the active roster right now, but it doesn't mean you're not going to see them play throughout this regular season, because I do believe the Patriots, again, are going to elevate a good amount of these players, and these guys could get playing time. And if they play well, they could get signed to the active 53 for the rest of the season. This is something that we saw happen with Carl Davis a couple of seasons ago. So really happy with how this practice squad ended up. Again, this is going to change slightly. Some players will be released, some players will be signed, but when it comes to guys like Kevin Harris, JJ Taylor, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Trey Nixon, LeBrian Ray, Cameron McGrone, Terrence Mitchell, guys like that. Like, I don't expect them to be released at all from this practice squad. I also like the idea of keeping safety Brad Hawkins around. Coming out of this year's draft, I thought he had a lot of potential, especially for the Patriots and their specific scheme. So I'm excited to see what he can do, maybe fight for a roster spot next year overall. But this is going to be your Patriots 53-man roster for your 2022 season. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section below. Make sure you guys leave a big like on this video, and of course, subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. But like always, don't y'all forget,